Hi, my friends, Perspective here. I wanted to bring us up to speed to where we're currently at. Within the last few weeks, we've been exploring the wounded themes of consciousness and how we transition into the healing themes. And in the most recent episode, I explored the mapping across the wounded themes and the healing themes so that we have a more tangible resource moving forward in our journey. So, for every wounded theme, we have multiple healing themes that are mapped to that. And what this exploration did was help us zoom into the third step in the three-step practice of the inner work. So, the third step says release and replace. Release tells us about the specific goal, which is to heal, and the replace tells us about how we can access this release. And we have wounded themes of consciousness aspect as well as healing themes of consciousness aspect that are associated with release and replace. Back to the recap. In the previous episode, we had spoken about overwhelm and loss as these two wounded themes of consciousness. We try to map with the healing, and the healing for overwhelm is acceptance, specifically accepting the limits of the human condition. And as we accept that we are limited and the things we can do are limited, we're able to surrender and ask for help. We're also able to ease into the rest of the transition because now we have help from community, from like minded people, from safe spaces. As we heal overwhelm, we transition into loss. Previously, we were so overwhelmed by the weight of our past consequences that we couldn't actually see them. And at the point of loss, we're able to see the loss for what it is, see the change, the painful, heavy change that has occurred, because now we're transitioning from the not self to the true self. Now we're seeing the version of us attached to the external outcomes shedding away. So at the point of loss, to heal loss is acceptance. And again, not being focused on that external validation or external play out of things, and being able to reaffirm our worthiness and our value inherently. As we affirm these, we also take actions to solidify these affirmations for ourselves. And I also spoke about loss ranging from a smaller degree of loss, which could be a change in schedule, to an even greater loss, like death. And being able to find our sweet spot so that we start accepting changes. We're able to still feel whole, worthy, and at peace to ease into the transitions. So, yeah, let's get into it.
Tiniest change. We could be somebody not keeping up to their end of an agreement and that having to change the agreement to, debt, which is like the biggest thing. So overall, it's saying these losses, once you accept that you are enough for yourself and you're worthy, you're not tying your inner worthiness or inner space to whatever is changing on the outside. And once you accept that there is a limit to the human condition, that makes it easier for you to even, come to terms with these perceived loss. And then also being present with what is just another way of, accepting that, okay, this is what it is, and this is life. And that then moves us closer to being content and being grateful for what is, right? And there's also something about loss that I noticed, and this is just a side note. So with loss, it is perceived loss, right? The idea is that something is taken away from you or something changes. But like I spoke about the polarities, as much as something is taken away from you, there is also something being given to you. And I know this sounds a bit weird to conceptualize, but, and I'll give an example so that it sounds less far fetched. So, say for instance, something happens and, oh, I was planning to hang out with somebody and I'm already like, what, a couple of minutes to get to the destination, and the person calls, oh, something happened, oh my god, I can't make it, I'm so sorry. Now, I'm obviously feeling some type of way, because why did I dress up and leave my house to come to this destination only for you not to be there, right? But of course it's a perceived loss, because that was the vision, that was the purpose of me stepping out. But what if that is an opportunity for me to actually spend time with myself? What if, as I'm spending time with myself, I see someone walk into the restaurant, and this is, what, someone who has a similar interest as mine, and guess what, I've been looking for, what, maybe opportunities in a certain thing, maybe like, you know just opportunities generally, and this person walks in and is like, oh yeah, I have a friend who does this. If that friend who had not been able to make it for so and so reason, if that didn't happen, then yeah, I would have hung out with my friend. But because that happened, I got to be alone, spend time alone, and then meet someone who is very interested and gave me an opportunity and a connection with this other friend to do that. Now I have a client. So if that didn't happen, things wouldn't have gone that way. And what if I decided that, okay, yeah, this happened, and I was in such a sulky mood, like, oh, why? Why did I leave my house? Why did I leave my house? Then that would also affect how things play out. Who knows, right? Maybe because I accepted that, okay, it is what it is. This is life. Things happen, there's limitations, maybe her car broke down, I accept that. And because I've accepted that for what it is, I can just be in the moment and accept the moment for what it is. And then there are other beauties that exist in the moment that I'm able to catch, because I'm not holding on to the loss, I'm not holding on to that external outcome. I don't feel like, oh, that's terrible, and I see that as a me thing and I internalize it. I'm able to let it go. Okay, that's fine. And then I'm present enough to get the most out of that experience. So, what I'm saying here is, as much as something seems like a loss, because it's a perceived loss, it's your perception of the thing that ties it to that. Why don't you ask yourself, how else can I perceive this situation? What other positive way can I perceive this situation? If there is a loss somewhere, then there is a possible gain. And I'll say that again. If there is a loss somewhere, then there is a possible gain. You just have to start looking differently. And, once you again go up in these healing themes of consciousness, and these are some of the things that we explored, especially when it comes to unconditional love as freedom and happiness, the final theme. You see how your perception of something is what gives life to the thing, just as your perception of life caused your life to show up in a certain way, right? Again, your internal narrative, your headspace, your internal perception, the lens, the theme of consciousness through which you view life is what creates the life that you experience. So, that in itself is your experience of life, your subjective experience of life. So, what if you choose to perceive it differently? How would that change your life? So now we see loss as a perceived loss. But if there is a perceived loss, then there has to be a gain somewhere. Why do I not twist and reframe my perspective to, oh, why can I see a perceived gain? Okay, this didn't happen. Okay, what else can I do that would be an amazing thing to do within that time frame? Oh, I'm already outside. Why don't I just go? I've been wanting to go to this place. Why don't I just go there? Right? So when we start, also seeing how this adds to the flavor of life, the impermanence of things, not only teaches us to appreciate things and hold gratitude for the things that we have, because just as much as we have something, it could be taken away. We do not know. We don't know tomorrow. Even you're seeing me on your screen. What if, you know what I mean, tomorrow, right? And I would be glad that I have experienced life to the fullest. And that's why gratitude is such a huge thing. And, we would see this play out again when it comes to love and freedom. Yeah. But just gratitude in itself just is grateful for life. You love the life that you live, you're grateful for it. And that adds to being aware of the possible losses in life, adds to the depth to which you feel the gain, because you had to again experience the flip side so deeply, so that when you experience the other side, you can feel it deeply as well. It's that contrast that makes room for the need for gratitude, right? If something was constant, then what is that about? Like, I don't even know what's that. If something is constant, then it would be taken for granted, right? Of course, because you're always going to see it there. Tomorrow you see it there. Next tomorrow you see it there. It's always going to be there. It's not going away. So like, it doesn't even trying to conceptualize it doesn't make any sense, right? Because you see how life is constantly changing. But if anything is constant, it would what would be the value in something that is constant? Is something that doesn't change. What would be the value? Think about it. Just think about it. So when we think about losses and gains and contrast and being able to appreciate the contrast that life gives us as an opportunity to hold so much space and gratitude for the other end of things. And not only that, understanding that at every point in time, there is a flip perspective to how you can view things, right? So that just helps us accept. Once we accept things, we can actually ease into this truth, ease into this understanding. But until you accept it, you're going to still keep holding on to that narrative of, oh, yeah, this is something I lost. Oh, yeah, this is something I lost. But once you accept the limitation of what is, you accept it as what it is what it is. And not from a place of like, yeah, it's whatever, but genuine understanding of like, okay, life is limited. People have limitations. I have a limitation, so shit, maybe tomorrow I'm gonna be the one who calls and says, "Oh, I'm sorry, I can't make it. I know I gave you my word, but like I really cannot." And so many things go on that we don't even have control over. So understanding that things are constantly changing really does give room for us to appreciate the change in itself, not run away from it, but appreciate it, and appreciate it from an even bigger standpoints, that things are changing in accordance to the bigger picture. Things are moving in accordance to the bigger picture. So if you're able to flow with that, then you're unstoppable. And not only are you unstoppable, you are actually going in the flow of nature, in the flow as things should be, right? So that resistance becomes very frictiony for you. Like, it doesn't actually let you experience life to the fullest. And then we see how we go from loss or perceived loss, which is that resistance to change, to distrust. With loss, we perceive a loss of something. There is a resistance to change. There is a regret of something that has changed in the past. Now, we've we've seen the loss for what it is. And now we know that things are constantly changing in life. So guess what? We become fearful. We become fearful because we are scared of a future where things may likely change. Because we went through such intense, unexpected change, we're now scared that, hey, God, what if tomorrow this thing changes, right? So, having gone from a place of experiencing such huge, unexpected change, we transition to fearing the change, right? And instead of accepting things for what it is, we fear the change. And even when we accept what the moment is for what it is, right? Again, and that's the thing with this journey. Sometimes you need to experience it over and over again for the lesson to stick. because sometimes it comes in subtle ways and other times it comes in bigger ways, right? And yet again, you've evolved and you meet new versions of yourself that you interact with other people, and it's just a different version of same wounding, a different version of the same scar. So it's like, yet again, you have an opportunity to expand your mind, you have an opportunity to accept these things again and again and again. But if you're so stuck on resisting this change, then you're resisting life, because life is constantly changing. So not only do we now go from resisting the change, now we are fearful of the unknown, of unforeseen circumstances that could occur in the future, of unforeseen changes that could come up again in the future. And, you know, fear is such a huge thing, and fear restricts freedom. Fear restricts you just being and existing and accepting what is and going with that flow. So with distrust, you fear life because things might change. And just as you fear life, which is like the external extension of self, you fear self. So with distrust, you already have self distrust coming in. And the healing theme is acceptance, specifically, so acceptance and self motivation. And specifically, what it's working on is, that validation of self without attachments to the outcome of things. So again, acceptance is rooted in that belief of I am worthy, I am enough, period. And when we think about loss, when we think about distrust, it's still geared towards the same thing, projecting our worthiness to outward sources and expecting that things stay a certain way so that we feel worthy and we feel at ease because, oh yeah, things are a certain way, right? We feel like we're in control if we can ensure that we do certain things to get us to this point where the external is a certain way, is predictable enough for us, then yes, we would be worthy, yes, we would be fine, yes, we would be enough, right? But that just outlines how again we're projecting our worthiness outside, because if we're waiting for things to be a certain way on the outside, or things to be predictable, or us to be in control of things, then we would be waiting forever, because life is constantly changing. Things are constantly out of our control. There is so little that is within our control. And what is within our control is how we respond to these things, is being able to look within and ensure that we are self-validating, we are worthy on the inside, and not waiting for things to be a certain way on the outside. So again, with distrust, we are fearful. We can't trust our own selves, right? And we've gone from things changing unexpectedly to us now projecting that change to a possible future occurrence that we become so fearful of. Another healing point for distrust is accepting what is, being present with what is. Because again, remember that we had such a drastic change come up, perceived loss, and then we're now projecting that to the possible future. And now we're scared of the future because what if, what if, what if, what if? What if something happens? What if something happens? What if, what if, what if? And all this underscoring us not being here now, because if we're here now and we're not in the future, then we already are the thing that we are now. Like nothing is taking that away from us. But if we are obsessing about a future, it's like we do not know what's coming up in the future. So what if this comes up? Why not? We're present now. And then when we get to that future, we will be present then. And, you know, being able to have that self trust, that self validation, and not attaching to outcomes really does solidify it. And not only does it solidify it, it reminds us that we are enough now. We are enough whenever the future comes. And we will always know what to do in that present moment whenever the future becomes the present. If you trust and you believe that you are enough, then you are enough, period. Now, tomorrow, next tomorrow, whenever you are fine, right? And yeah. just accepting our inherent worthiness would be really helpful with distrust, because distrust underlines, underscores lack of self trust, lack of trust in the world, and lack of trust in yourself. And also with self motivation, we're saying, oh, we're always going to put in our best foot forward. And yeah, we're putting our best foot forward. But again, acceptance encapsulates self motivation in a sense. So that already goes hand in hand. I remember that acceptance is 100% effort, 100% no attachment to outcomes. So it's saying I'm always going to do the best that I can, but whatever happens, like it happens for reasons not known to me. It happens outside of my control, and I cannot fixate on what I cannot control. What I can control is how I show up. And if I'm putting my 100% effort in everything that I'm doing, then that is enough for me because I am enough. Yeah, that's it. So from distrust, we transition once there is the healing of acceptance and all that. We transition to inadequacy, and inadequacy is saying I want, I need, so that I feel more in control, right? Remember, we went from loss being that unexpected change to us now being fearful for a possible future occurrence of this unexpected change. And then with inadequacy, it's like we're trying so hard to control everything within our power to ensure
that we feel better equipped for the unexpected change.
so now we are like wanting and needing to be something, to do something, to get something, to achieve something, to amount to something, so that we feel in control. And in a way, it's
So, in this episode, we had spoken about loss and the healing for loss being acceptance and ease. As we heal loss, we transition into distrust. We spoke about distrust and the healing for distrust being acceptance and self motivation. We finally transitioned from distrust into inadequacy and spoke about how inadequacy is underscored by the desire to keep attracting things. Just as we were fearful for a change, we were just as we felt the unexpected change and perceived it as loss, we were fearful for the unexpected change and future occurrences of the unexpected change. And now we are desiring to have certain things in place up until we feel equipped for that unexpected change.